Welcome back to another episode of the Clavinating EMT. I am Tommy, your host. That was Hey Boo Chan. Come here, buddy. Come on, say hi. He is a Sun Conure parrot and my best friend. He's my co-host, and he's letting me use his studio to do this. I really appreciate it, man. All right, so let's get started. Thank you very much. I got one of these funny sound things. I like it. Anyhow, so I didn't really go over the whole clavinating deal either. I kind of did on the introductory video. Um, I tend to ramble, and I tend to drive my friends nuts with long, um, intricate, I'd like to say intricate stories. Uh, way more information than is needed, but that's kind of part of my thing. Um, I go into great detail. Anyhow, I sound a lot like Cliff Clavin, so um, I kind of came up with the term clavinating, and that's just rambling on about stuff and driving people crazy with it. So, figured, again, face for radio and voice for mimery, I'm going to do a podcast. So, welcome. Welcome, Hebu. How's your week been? Good? Good. Good. He likes to just hang out and supervise. He'll do all my editing. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah. Anyhow, so one of the worst things you can do, and I don't blame people. I don't really get angry at people because we're all people. We're all people kind of suck, but sometimes people suck and they don't mean to. They just do. Um, but one of the worst things you can do to a first responder, regardless of whether it's a police officer or ER nurse or ER tech or EMT, paramedic, whoever, is to ask them what's the worst thing you've ever seen. And I get it. We all have, I mean, there's slasher movies for a reason. We like to watch something that we don't actually want to have done to us or we want to get involved in. But we kind of live vicariously through other folks. So I get it, and people probably, and they're usually pretty sympathetic. I usually don't tell people the worst things that I've seen, just because I don't want to relive it. And that's kind of what you're asking the person to do is to kind of relive it, and you might just be having a hard time putting it in the rear view mirror, and stop for thinking about it so much. So don't ask first responders what's the worst thing they've seen, but what you can do is ask them what's the funniest thing they've seen. So I collected a few funny stories. When I say funny, I mean funny. All first responders have gallows humor. That's how we get through stuff. Now, we also know how to behave in front of patients, in front of patients' family, in front of the public, because God knows that everyone's got a frickin' one of these out there, and, if we take one misstep or say something or whatever, they're going to make sure, and, since we're getting paid by the taxpayer, they're gonna let us know. So we're very careful. Plus, it's really rude to say stupid shit in front of family or friends or patients or anything. It's a skill that needs to be learned. But amongst ourselves, um, yeah, we're sick fuckers. That's the bottom line. Um, but I think that's what helps us get through it. And I've had a few. I've had to go to the hospital a few times, and it wasn't all that dignifying, and I'm hoping that the EMS crew got a kick out of it and told stories about it. So anyhow, so here's a few stories that I'll tell that I've been on. Either with the fire department or with one of my EMT jobs. Um, yeah, just as an EMT. Um, these are some of the calls that I've been on that turned out to be kind of funny. It's never funny when someone's sick or hurt or anything, but sometimes it is. It turns out funny. You know, so sorry, it's funny. So I was with the crew. We got called to feeling ill, illness call. That could mean anything. So we got called to a resident. Patient was not looking good. Was sweating horribly. Just looked terrible. Was puking. And it was a Russian family. So in their English was not good at all. So I don't know what the story is with that, and I don't care. We had a sick patient. Um, Paramedic wanted me to go with him to the hospital because he wasn't sure what was going to happen with his patient. I don't speak Russian. I don't know if he thought that I did or what, but yeah, very diaphoretic, sweating like a pig. Anyhow, very uncomfortable. I felt really, really bad for this patient. We loaded this patient up, get in the ambulance, and start going lights and sirens to the hospital. Her vitals weren't great. I guess I won't go into details what ended up the call ended up being, but that's not important. The funny part was the patient grabs my arm and starts screaming, "Open window!" And I'm like, uh, you know, there's no windows in American ambulance. Ambulances? Yeah. I know I like to watch EMS shows from England, Australia, and Japan and stuff. And they got windows. Americans don't have windows, so. And I'm not going to open a window. We're screaming down the freeway trying to get this very sick patient to the hospital. Again, vitals not looking good. She's in some type of shock. Anyhow, she grabs my arm, just squeezes the crap. Open window! And me and the medic are just looking at each other. I don't even know what to say. He's pushing an IV, getting fluids in her, all this stuff. I'm just helping him out the best I can. Then all of a sudden, she puts her knees up, and there is such a thing as projectile shitting. I mean, it was cartoonish, and just like, I know it sounds really gross, but like completely blasted diarrhea down the gurney into the back door. And if anyone's been in an ambulance, not not a lot of air circulation in there. The medic just looked. I kind of got a kick out of it. I felt terrible for the patient. Um, didn't make a big deal out of it. Didn't start laughing. Didn't start gagging. Nothing. Just kept going with my work. The medic did not look happy at all. Anyhow, boy, that was rough. That was a rough call because that was a little bit of a drive. But anyhow, so now open window. It's going to be an EMT. That's what you have to look forward to. Anyhow, so another call I went on that it was a serious call, but it was funny too. We got a call of a guy at a school bus garage. He was in his personal vehicle in the middle of the parking lot. He must have pulled out, stopped, opened the door, realized he's having a heart attack, a myocardial infarction, they're called, an MI. And we go over to the guy's car. His door's open. He's sitting there. He's in distress. Again, he's sweating horribly. His vitals aren't great, but he's talking. We're waiting for the ambulance to show up. We're doing our EMT thing, getting vitals, trying to make the guy comfortable and everything. And one of my coworkers was going down a list of questions. When you go to school for EMT, you're given all these acronyms that AVPU and AEIOU and MOINOI, and it's nothing but acronyms. We have 1,000,001 acronyms. Sample to get a history of the patient's history, and after a while, you just know what to ask. Anyhow, one of the newer people on the department looked at the guy and asked if because we didn't have a 12 lead on the guy. We didn't know he's having an MI. He was pretty sure that he was, and I was pretty sure. Terrible chest pain, hard time breathing, tachycardic, which means fast heart rate. Yeah, he was. He was. And one of our newer folks asked him if he had any stress in his life. One of our newer people thought, oh well, maybe it's just an anxiety thing or something like that. And this guy, he looked like kind of a gruff biker looking dude, heavy set, big guy, great big beard, and he just looks at the guy and goes, "I'm a fucking school bus driver." And we all just lost our shit. We started laughing really hard. And the guy started laughing really hard too. So that's a good sign. And actually laughing is medicinal. It releases some kind of stuff, that hormones that make you feel a little bit better. Anyhow, so that was when a patient can have a sense of humor, hey boo, that can really make a difference. It really helps out. I just thought that was a great answer. So we got another call one time. Someone stuck in an elevator. We get these calls once in a while. That's what fire department does. You'll see a little firefighter symbol. Elevators get stuck. It sucks. And it does turn into a medical emergency because even if you're not claustrophobic, you got to get out of there. You can't just sit there until, Monday, whenever the elevator repair guy gets there or whatever. So we got to figure out how to get the elevator down on our own. We have equipment to do it and keys and stuff. Anyhow, we get to this building, sort of a high-rise place, and the elevator is stuck, and people are kind of hanging around out in the lobby, and we go and get our special key and all this stuff. No, it takes a little while, and we're trying to talk to the patient through the door, and it's just, the patient just sounded, "Get me out of here!" Kind of a crabby old lady voice. It sounded like she's been gargling cement or something. We assured her we're working on it the best we can. We're asking if she's okay. If she's having, are you having any chest pain? Are you having difficulty breathing? We're asking all this stuff, just making sure she's okay. I mean, not like we can do anything at that point anyhow. The elevator is still stuck, but we want to know what we need out of our med bag when we get the elevator down to where it needs to be. So, anyhow, we finally get her down, and it was beautiful. It was this woman that must have been in her mid to late 70s, and she had a cane in one hand, and she was sitting in the corner of the elevator, just sitting there. She had a cane in one hand and a cigarette in the other hand. and she she was just sitting there smoking a heater. God damn it! And we help her get up and just start swinging at people with her cane, to get out of her way, and she just wanted to get back to her apartment. I don't blame her, but yeah, not a lot of patient contact with that one. So that was pretty funny. So another funny call that I went on was, in fact, it was on Thanksgiving because it was just Thanksgiving recently. So it reminded me of this call, and uh, it's later on in the evening, Thanksgiving, and we get called to an upscale area in my area, and I'm with just one other guy, and we show up at this house, and we got called for a stroke. Someone had passed out, and the people there thought this patient was having a stroke. So me and my partner show up, and we get the patient up. We do what's called a Cincinnati pre-hospital test, looking for deficiencies on one side or the other. Um, Smile, raise your hand, do this. No sign of a stroke. And the patient was doing a little bit better. Gave the patient some water, and but it was all these folks that were in their probably late 60s, maybe up to 70, early 70s. Big spread Thanksgiving table, but there were no kids there. There were no grandkids. There were no, just they all seemed to be about the same age, but they all seemed really weird, like very guilty looking. There were two police officers with us too. They usually come to all of our medical calls. So me and my partner start after we take vitals, and the guy looks like he's in great shape. Then the guy didn't want any help. He just, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. No need. And finally, we said, what's really going on here, folks? And there was probably eight of these older folks, very wealthy. And finally, the truth came out that they all went to college together, you know, uh, 50 years ago, um, where apparently they smoked weed back in, the late 70s or whenever they went to school. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been the mid 70s, when weed was cheap and horrible and not very strong. And one of these people showed up with the joint, and they thought they'd relive their college days, and they lit up a joint after their big Thanksgiving dinner. And this guy had a bad reaction to it and just keeled over. The weed was probably a whole lot stronger than the ditch weed that was around back in the 70s. So anyhow, these people were just horrified that they were all going to get arrested, and the cops were like, I don't care. We just want to know. We just want you to be healthy. We just want to fix you. And, so they fessed up to it, and we all got a big kick out of it, and we ended up no transport. So that was really funny. Then it's another call. Oh, I met a famous woman one time. Now this was a cute call. Um, we go on a lot of what's called lift assists, where older folks or folks that are just not all that ambulatory might fall out of their bed. They might fall if they use a cane or a walker. They trip, fall, can't get up. They call us. We go. We pick them up. We evaluate them. Sometimes they get transported. Sometimes they got broken bones or lacerations. Sometimes they just want to be put back in bed or helped to the bathroom and then put back in bed. It's usually at a nursing home or something like that. But assisted living. So we get a call for two down, and it's very unusual. And they were in the same unit, so it was very strange. So what happened was the wife fell down. There's a husband and wife living together in an assisted living, place. They had their own apartment, and they had a full-time staff that would help them out with meals and whatnot. So the wife fell down, and she didn't get hurt, but she couldn't get back up. The husband went to, and these were older folks in their 80s. So the husband went to help the wife out, and he slipped trying to help her up, and he fell down. He did get hurt a little bit, but not bad. So these two older folks are laying kind of feet to feet on the floor. Neither of them can get up. The husband had somehow rolled over. You know, of course, neither of them had a cell phone on them or anything. Rolled over to his landline, called 911. We showed up, and I always, whenever I meet a patient, I always ask them what their name is. You know, and they'll say, you know, my name is, so I know how to address them. Whatever name they give me, that's what I address them as. You know, or sir or ma'am. You know. Anyhow, so one of the women, I'll use her name because it's not her real name, but she said Marlene, and I kind of have a thing for pre-code movies from the 30s and stuff. I think they're just awesome. The women were beautiful. You know, Jean Harlow and actresses like that. Myrna Loy. You know, it must have been great to live back then. Anyhow, so I said, oh, like Marlene Dietrich. And her husband started laughing his ass off. And the wife got all irritated and pissed off. And I was like, what? And she's like, how do you know? How do you know Marlene Dietrich? I'm like, well, I'm kind of a fan of old movies and old movie stars. You know, Marlene Dietrich was a German actress and from the 20s and 30s and 40s. But the husband started laughing because that was actually her name, Marlene Dietrich. And she said, that's why I couldn't wait to get married, to change her name to her husband's name. So her name is not Marlene Dietrich. So that's Marlene, but it's no longer Dietrich, and it hasn't been for probably 60 plus years. Anyhow, so that was hilarious. The husband could not stop laughing because apparently the wife said she got teased endlessly as a kid because of her name of Marlene Dietrich. So that's why she wanted to get married. So, but they were a really cute couple, and we took care of them. Husband needed a little bit of attention. Wife was okay. So it turned out okay, but we got a big kick out of it. It was absolutely hilarious. If you could see the face on the wife, you know, she was just annoyed, angry, and kind of smirky. So that was pretty funny. So what's another one? Oh, I'll tell you a fire call I went on. That I thought this was hilarious. You know, because comedy is tragedy that happens to other people. So, hey, Buchan, he's flying all over the place tonight. And I'm just enjoying a hot cup of coffee with Beavis and Butthead. The fuel of EMS. So, fire department gets a call for vehicle fire. You know, it happens. Crew gets in the truck. We head off and pull up to an address, and there's a car just raging on fire. Now, I work with this salty. I want to call him salty and old because he's about 10 years older than me, but great firefighter. He's in great shape, and but he's a salty, old school firefighter. And he has big time firegasm. You know, just loves going into fires. And I could care less if I go to another fire. I got it out of my system. I mean, I do it because I have to, but I like the medical stuff better. Anyhow, we roll up on this thing, and engineer gets out. We have what's called a trash line on the front of the engine, that's for vehicle fires, because you can pull up and pull this hose out very quickly and use the engine to block traffic, and it works out really. It's called a trash line because it's for dumpster fires, but it should be called a car line because a vehicle fire line. I guess that doesn't sound as cool though as a trash line. Anyhow, so here's the deal. Um, a lot of fire engines, apparatus, not the rescues, but engines, ladders, things like that. The way they work is you put on your bunker gear, our helmet, our jacket, our pants, our boots, all that stuff. Put it on quickly. We get in the truck. Now the air packs that we have to wear, even for a vehicle fire, because if the wind switches and I've had a gas tank explode on me one time and like engulf me, So I'm glad I had my mask on. But the air tanks and the packs are built into the seat, so you'd think that's really awesome, but it's actually not, because you get in the seat and you put the straps for the pack on, and it goes around your shoulder and then around your waist, and then you got to put the seat belt on, and a lot of times people will get all tangled up. And then if that doesn't happen, because you got to have your seat belt on to roll, so it's really frustrating, but you get used to it, and you get good at it actually. But um, these packs, you have to pull a little switch under the seat to release the pack, boom, to go forward and to get out. And sometimes they don't work, and you're literally like, you know, stuck in this seat with your pack on, and you can't get out, you know. And normally, decent folks will help you out, but unfortunately, this happened to this salty firefighter, and he wasn't with decent folks. He was with me and another guy, and but on the way to the fire, the salty firefighter called the nozzle. No one calls the nozzle. There's no such thing. Uh, I didn't even know what to say to that. He's like, I called the nozzle. It's like, we're not. It's not. It's not like calling shotgun. It's like the officer, front right seat says, um, "Hey, Smith, you're gonna, you grab the line. Jones, you're gonna grab the irons, and Anderson, you're gonna grab the spreaders. The officer assigns what tools and what position everyone's gonna do on the way to the fire. And anyhow, so this dude, uh, he's a character. I called a nozzle. So me and my other partner, we're sitting back there. We just look at each other and roll our eyes. We get to the scene. Come here, buddy. Come here. We get to the scene. The car's blazing away. Um, Flip my button. I got my tank on. I got my gear on. I'm masking up. I hop out. Guy on the other side, no problem. And here's the salty firefighter guy, just kicking and screaming and cursing because his air pack is jammed and he cannot get out. And I guess I could have been a decent guy and I could have reached over and pulled. If you pull on the bottom of these things, you can get them out. But I didn't because I'm kind of a dick. So I knew he'd get out eventually. I mean, like I said, the guy's in good shape. Eventually, he would just rip the thing out. So I get out. The other guy gets out, gets some tools for opening the hood and some other stuff. I grabbed the line, the trash line out of the front, flaked it out, and signaled to the engineer to charge it, to fill it with water. And then the salty firefighter finally made it out, and I get down on one knee, and I'm holding the nozzle, just like the king walked in, and I had to hand him like his scepter, So I got all my gear on. I've got the nozzle. I'm standing, like 2 feet from a burning car, and this guy comes running, follows the hose, comes running over, smoke and fire everywhere, and I get down on one knee and I hand him the nozzle. It was pretty funny. Is there a laughter thing? Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. It was hilarious. And anyhow, we got a big kick out of that. And we put the car out and everything worked out. But we were laughing for a long time after that. So anyhow, I got more funny stories, but I'll save them. You know, again, uh, being a firefighter and an EMT, you get to see a lot of awful stuff, and we try to make light of some of it, and sometimes people don't understand it, and you know, sometimes I'd go over some of these funny calls. I'd be having lunch with friends, and I realized I was just kind of grossing people out, or there might be one person who's enjoying it, thinks it's really funny and interesting, and then the other folks at the table are just kind of pissed off. So I don't want to do that, hey boo. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. Share some of my funny stories, but you know, it's a super rewarding job, and like I say, anyone can do it. I went into the fire service at 50 years old. Uh, yeah, so it's a great job. Fire service and EMS is a great job. So, so those are my funny stories. There's sad stories and there's weird stories. So I got all kinds of weird stuff coming up and funny stuff and more funny stuff and um, yeah, the life of the EMT. It's I find it very very fascinating. Some of the people I've met are absolutely awesome. The vast majority of my coworkers are awesome. The patients are awesome. You know, but of course, I've always had some jerky patients and some coworkers that I just soon light them on fire. Um, but it's like any job, you know, and the camaraderie thing is sort of a myth. But when it comes down to it, there is something because of the intensity of the job that kind of pulls people together when they get in trouble. So, anyhow, that's my commentary on the EMS fire service. So, all right. So, until next time, what do you think, hey boo? Coffee? All right. Stay safe out there, all right?